By the way, we, I'm 1 and 1. I'm 1 for 1. Think of it. We had one election, we won. Now we're going to be 2 for 0, and everything's going to be perfect.
2 for 0.
Wait.
2 for 0.
It's so hard. Straight face. Welcome back to Morning Joe. It is Tuesday, February 12th, 2 for 0. Still with us, we have MSNBC contributor Mike Barnicle. You like that one. And associate editor of Commentary Magazine and an MSNBC contributor, Noah Rothman. He's the author of the new book, Unjust: Social Justice and the Unmaking of America. And joining the conversation, national political correspondent for NBC News and MSNBC and author of The Red and the Blue, Steve Kornacki. Also with us, White House correspondent for PBS NewsHour, Yamiche Alcindor is with us, and chief White House correspondent for The New York Times, Peter Baker. So a lot going on, 2 for 0. We're also apparently, according to Donald Trump, stronger together.
Yes.
That's what he's saying about his people and his party. They are stronger together. I'm trying to think, where have I heard that? Because that didn't work. Oh, it goes along with I'm with her. Maybe that'll be the next one. Congressional negotiators announced last night that they have reached an agreement in principle to prevent another shutdown at the end of the week. The deal would provide more money for border security, but does not include any funds to build new walls along the southern border. Multiple sources tell NBC News that the deal includes nearly $1.4 billion for 55 miles of border barrier enhancements like steel slats and other existing technologies. Homeland Security would receive about $1.7 billion in new funding for border security. And Democrats dropped their demand to limit the number of people who can be detained by immigration enforcement, but put a limit on the number of beds for detained immigrants. Lawmakers are hoping President Trump gets on board with the deal, but a White House official told NBC News last night, we have to see the offer first. At the rally, the president said that he did not wait to hear what the bipartisan group had agreed to before he spoke, and that it didn't matter anyway, because he's fixed on getting his wall. He also rejected statistics that showed the crime rate in El Paso fell before the border wall was built, going against the fact and what locals there, including the sheriff and the city's Republican mayor, know to be the truth, while literally screaming murder.
I spoke to people that have been here a long time. They said when that wall went up, it's a whole different ballgame. Is that a correct statement? Whole different ballgame. And I don't care whether a mayor is a Republican or a Democrat. They're full of crap when they say it hasn't made a big difference. They said, oh, crime actually stayed the same. Didn't stay the same. Went way down. And look at what they did to their past crimes, and look at how they recorded those past crimes. Went way, way down. Thanks to a powerful border wall in El Paso, Texas, it's one of America's safest cities now. Listen to these numbers. 266,000 arrests of criminal aliens, including those charged or convicted of approximately 100,000 assaults, 40,000 larcenies, 30,000 sex crimes, 25,000 burglaries, 12,000 vehicle thefts, 11,000 robberies, 4,000 kidnappings, and 4,000 murders, killings, murders.
Really, you know, I think Ronald Reagan liked to say facts are stubborn things. I know others did as well. The lies that just tumble out of his mouth are extraordinary. Again, for those who can't afford the Google machine, again, native-born Americans commit crimes at a much higher rate than do immigrants, illegal immigrants, whatever you call legal, illegal, whatever type of immigrants. Incarceration rates for native-born Americans are much higher. You look at the stats, it's not even a close call. Not even a close call. This is one of the big lies, one of the racist lies that Donald Trump tells. But also, there is, Peter Baker, again, this distortion reality field all around the president. For some reason, people that go to his rallies put on their hats and start yelling at things that are just lies. And again, lies that can be actually uncovered by looking at statistics from Donald Trump's own government. Like, for instance, when we're talking about this negotiation, Donald Trump says, I'm going to build the wall anyway. In fact, his quote is, the wall is being built at a rapid pace. The Rio Grande. Check it out yourself. So I wonder, is that a precursor to Donald Trump saying, you know what, I'll take their $1.35 billion. I'm going to build the wall anyway. Or is he going to allow his approval ratings to go down another 10 points by listening to a couple right-wing talk show hosts?
Well, that's the big question, right? Does he accept a deal that doesn't give him anything more than he had in December? The deal that he rejected in December wouldn't have had any less money than this. It would have had the same, more or less, in fact, a few more miles worth of barriers than this particular deal calls for. Now, will he be able to spin it and say, look, I've gotten some sort of victory here in some ways? Perhaps, but you already hear Sean Hannity on Fox saying, no, it's a terrible deal, and any Republican who votes for it is going to have to answer for it. So that's going to put him on the spot here. Is he willing to take this kind of deal just to keep the government open again? Because, in fact, there's no appetite on either side of the aisle for another government shutdown. It may lead to him, still declaring some sort of a national emergency to be able to shift more funds over. We don't know yet. That would obviously spark a court battle. Nobody's quite sure how that would turn out. There is some reason to believe he's got a plausible claim, according to legal experts, but it's very, it's uncertain, and the court could throw that out, and he'd be right back where he started from. But one thing we know is that neither the White House nor Congress really wants a government shutdown at this point, so they're looking for a way out.
And by the way, the court overturning Donald Trump's actions is probably where this is going to end, and then he can run against the federal judiciary, even though will probably be Republican-appointed judge that overturns it. Watch this. This was near the end of Donald Trump's speech. It was filled with lies and race baiting. But at the end, he delivers his closing argument, which I think we're going to see in the 2020 campaign trail. Take a look.
Each of us here tonight is united by the same timeless values. We believe in the American Constitution and our great rule of law. We believe in the dignity of work and the sanctity of life. We believe that faith and family, not government and bureaucracy, are the center of the American way. We believe in religious liberty, the right to free speech, and the right to keep and bear arms. We believe that children should be taught to love our country, honor our incredible history, and always respect our great American flag. We believe that the first duty of government is to be loyal to its citizens, and we live by the words of our national motto that we are going to keep. We'll never change this. In God we trust. These are the beliefs, traditions, and principles that bind us together as citizens, as neighbors, as great patriots.
So, Steve Kornacki, I wanted to show that clip, that closing argument, because as I was watching the speech saying how could people be applauding that, finally he turned to that closing argument, the we believe argument, and I sat there listening to it, and I'm sure you might be thinking the same thing. You go up and down that Mississippi River that Bill Clinton won, the states up and down the Mississippi River, my gosh, that statement, man, that'll play well in That'll play very well in Minnesota. That'll play well in Iowa. That'll play well in Missouri. That'll play well in Louisiana. But it'll also play well in states like North Carolina, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Ohio, a lot of the swing states that Donald Trump's way behind in, but needs to win.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've been, my way of thinking about this presidency, just in terms of his political standing, Trump's, and in terms of his prospects for winning re-election in 2020, this presidency has really been no different than the campaign. We've seen the same cycles in polling on him. We're on a bad day, in a bad moment in the news for him, like we just had for him with the government shutdown. His approval rating will dip down to 37, 38%, that territory. We saw that in the campaign. He'd go through a bad cycle in the campaign, like the Access Hollywood tape. He'd drop down to 36, 37%. And then it would return to a baseline that was generally, 42, 43, 44%, somewhere around there. And we'd simultaneously say two things when we looked at that. We'd say, gee, given all of the water his campaign's taken on, that seems a little higher than you might normally think it would be. But we would also say, still doesn't look like it's going to be enough to actually get him over the top and actually get himself elected president. And what you saw on Election Day in 2016 is, for all sorts of factors, some of the themes you're playing there in that clip last night that he was talking about in 2016, this idea of just, I think Noah said it earlier in the show, negative partisanship. And you don't necessarily like the person you're voting for, but you fear more the other side that would get elected if that person doesn't win. It was just enough to get him up to that right combination in just the right places to get elected. And I think it's a very open question heading into 2020. I don't think there's a scenario where Trump's, sweeping to some Reagan-like landslide here. I don't even know there's a scenario where he gets a majority of the popular vote. But is there a scenario where he replicates what he did in 2016? I think that's very much an open question.
Absolutely.
And Yamiche, I'm hearing Republicans and conservatives I know seeking to elevate some of the new members of Congress and make them the face of the Democratic Party as foils for Donald Trump, saying this is the party of high taxes, of late-term abortion, of this Green New Deal where everybody gets a job and we're going to get rid of airplanes in 10 years, to make it an extreme leftist party that President Trump can run against.
Well, Republicans have always in some ways been looking for a boogeyman or a boogie woman to put a face on the Democratic Party. At one point, it was Nancy Pelosi, and they raised a lot of money running against Nancy Pelosi. But it seems as though right now Nancy Pelosi's having a good cycle. The idea is that she looks strong in her interactions with the president, in her interactions after State of the Union, and her ability to force him to postpone the State of the Union. So they're looking at someone like AOC and looking at her and saying, she's someone who's a rising star. The president said that she kind of has this shine in some meetings that he's had off the record with people or on background with people. And as a result, we have the president looking at this new crop of Democrats, these women who showed up in white at the State of the Union. He was congratulating them for their win, but also in some ways looking at them and saying, these are the people I can attack, and these are the people who can give a face to the issues that we have. I should add, though, that this deal that they struck last night in Congress, it's the exact argument that President Trump wants to have. I was talking to Democratic aides yesterday who were saying, well, this isn't for concrete wall. This is for whatever the building materials are already out there. The White House was saying that that's what they wanted to negotiate. They said, hey, we'll even change the materials and not make it concrete. So I think we have to listen really hard today when we hear how Democrats are talking about this.
Yeah.
Mike Barnicle, it's so funny, and I'm glad Yamiche brought this up, that Republicans are they're salivating over picking out, sort of cherry picking, whether it's Ralph Northam or AOC or whoever it is. A couple of days ago, I made the mistake, after they put out their new Green Deal, of Nancy Pelosi saying, well, there's this green thing and some people like it, and I'm not exactly sure what it is, but everybody loves it. And I just put out sort of a half-joking tweet saying, well, look, this is the, Nancy Pelosi's running this party. I mean, and this is how it works. You have people that come in and they have these bold, sweeping plans. I had bold, sweeping plans. We're going to eliminate 4 cabinet agencies, and 40 reporters came in, right? And the appropriators just stared at us and were like, yeah, sure you are. And here's Nancy Pelosi going, yeah, you do what you do. That's good for your constituents, but I'm still in charge here. It's so fascinating. After I tweeted that it was Nancy Pelosi's party, there were a few progressives who said, oh, really? Which they didn't respond back. Yes, this is Nancy Pelosi's party. But I had Republicans desperately attacking, and some people in the RNC attacking me, insisting that it wasn't Nancy Pelosi's party, that it was AOC's party. And they are so desperate to try to make it AOC's party or Ralph Northam's party, when in fact, the person running the Democratic Party is the 3rd highest constitutional ranking officer in the land, and her name is Nancy Pelosi.
Joe, I would not bet against the idea that a year and a half from now, as the primary contests have been diminished, as there is a Democratic nominee, that much of the strength of the Democratic Party a year and a half from now would be attributable to Nancy Pelosi and what she has done to, for lack of a better phrase, to begin to corral all the various widespread elements in the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party is a clear reflection of the United States of America, much more so than the Republican Party. And there are ideas on the far left, there are ideas on the right, and Nancy Pelosi's skill and her career has put her in this position at this moment to really steer the Democratic Party towards what I think, unless they badly screw it up, will be a win for their presidential candidate a year and a half from now, despite Donald Trump's closing argument that we just saw.
Yeah, Mika, I'm not so sure. I mean, Donald Trump and the Republican Party, I mean, maybe they don't reflect how America looks right now, but they do reflect how Skull and Bones looked at Yale in 1947. I mean, that's got to count for something.
No, I found the closing argument that we showed here, but also the other portions of the speech, to be kind of frightening at this point, that we're still here. I mean, there's something to be said for the fact that he has this following. And I think, Steve, your point that, 2020 is not a slam dunk for anyone who challenges Donald Trump. That is the reality right now. And it's something. So
thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.